Going. Call the meeting order, 4:32. I'll start us with roll call. Bob?
Bacon present.
Big here.
Salad present.
Keequam here.
Sweet present.
Seeing a quorum present, we're on to agenda item number 2 with Pledge of Allegiance. Moving on to agenda item number 4, approval of tonight's agenda. How's that looking?
Just have one correction, under board member comments. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th dot down. I would like to strike, we're at the very end where it says when repaving is warranted in the future. The tape must have got garbled or something, but that is not my wish, and to discuss it during the budget part, but,
Okay, hold on. We're just approving the agenda. You're on the
Yep.
minutes.
Yep, no,
You're
no.
on the minutes?
Oh, Brian, I'm sorry,
Slow her down a minute.
shut up.
Slow her down. Well, why don't you make a motion
I'll
for the
make a
agenda?
motion that we approve the agenda
Okay.
as presented.
Motion by Marty, support by Zalid to approve tonight's agenda. Everybody say aye.
Aye.
In favor? Everybody opposed, the same? Agenda's approved.
My apologies.
Okay, now let's go on to approval of the minutes. Okay, now what's
Yes,
your problem?
now. So, yeah, just strike, the last part of, the comment there on the 5th bullet point where it says, when repaving is warranted in the future. I personally believe that we should start working on finishing that leg from the bridge up to M20, and working with the road commission to get that happening, but we'll discuss it further under the budget. Thank you.
So you got that correction noted?
I did,
Tara?
thank you.
Any other comments on the September 19th meeting minutes? Hearing none, get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the motion, the minutes with the Jim's correction.
Correction?
I'll support.
Got a motion by Bacon, support by Zalid. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. The minutes are approved. Let's go on to agenda item number 6. Presentations? Anything there?
Not today.
On to item 7, public comment.
I'm drooling. I want to get involved and help, so I'm just really learning.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody online?
No one online.
No one online? Hey, we have a guest. First guest in the,
Yeah, a lot.
thanks, Laurie. Okay, let's move on to agenda item 8, reports. Accounts payable.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Okay, let's start out with the accounts payable. We'll go over the accounts payable for the East DDA. We have a check to Black Electric for $150. That was to install fall banners along Pickard, the ones that could be put up. And we have a check to Charter Township of Union for the water sewer billing for the 3rd quarter. That was for $2,482.06. And we have a payment to MMI for maintenance along Pickard, around the park benches and the ground, clean up the grounds for $246. And we have a payment to Teelan Turf Irrigation to winterize the irrigation on Pickard for $1,000. So we have a total accounts payable of $3,878.06 for the East DDA.
Make a
Question?
motion. Go ahead.
Question. This has probably been answered before, but I have a question on the water/sewer billing. What percentage of that is for irrigation, do you know?
This is pretty much exclusively irrigation.
So, is there any sense in paying for the sewer part of that? Can we pay for just the water part if we put a meter on it for just water?
Well, I think the term is water sewer, but it's,
I
you don't
would-
have a separate
I
sewer.
think
I
there's a
don't know,
separate-
I would be shocked if we are paying any sewer
Yeah,
portion.
we're not paying the sewer
I,
charge.
I think that's just a description
Okay.
of, for that
All right.
line item.
That's simply the.
I
water.
asked that because I know the normal homeowner would,
Right.
so, okay, very good. I figured that probably already been taken care of, but I just thought I'd pose the idea, thanks.
Probably a good thing to double check, but.
It might be a good thing to double
Yeah,
check,
I've
because
looked
it's
at it.
doubling the bill.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, these are all just water bills.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
just a
that-
line item.
So I apologize for that, that's my mistake, because I
No,
put the
I just was
description in
curious,
there.
thanks, Sherry.
I should have just said water.
Any other
Okay,
questions? Any more questions? Got a motion by Zalid
Second, or
to
support?
approve the East DDA and a support by Marty Fig. It's all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. East DDA payables are approved. Thank you. Okay.
okay, moving on to the West DDA, we just had one check written to Isabella County Treasurer for $409.14. And that was a refund for a tax bill that was settled at the Michigan Tax Tribunal level. And so the West DDA owed the constituent back a refund for that tax bill. And that was the only check written for the West DDA this month. So we have a total of $409.14 for the West DDA.
Make a motion that we approve the West DDA bills as presented.
Support.
Got a motion by Pig, support by Sweet to approve the West DDA payables as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. And the motion's carried.
Okay, let's move on to the financials for the East DDA. All of the payables, the checks that you just approved are posted here to your financial statements. And we can do a quick overview of the revenue and expenditure report. Things are looking good. And the revenues are at about 87% of budget. And all of your expenditures for the East DDA are at about 28% of budget. And then moving on to the balance sheet, your assets and your fund balance are sitting just under $2 million. Are there any questions on the East DDA financials? If not, I'll move on to the West DDA financials. There's not a lot of change here. We posted some interest earned, and then, of course, the check that you just approved tonight. Things are looking good in the West DDA as well. Your revenues are sitting at about 99% of budget, and your total expenditures are sitting at about just under 56% of the budget. And then for the balance sheet, You have just under 1.2 million in assets and fund balance. Are there any questions on the West DDA financials? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. So let's let the record show the financials were presented, received, and filed. Also on the agenda, on item 8C, you get the board member matrix for your review. Moving on to agenda item number 9, new business. Looks like we have a couple of requests for board action. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. Your first item is administrative, to adopt our schedule for 2024. You should have before you an updated, corrected schedule. We found a typo in it this afternoon. For the February meeting date, the original schedule that was in your packet listed that as February 13th. The correct date was the 20th. Similar correction we had to make for the Planning Commission. And so we would ask you to if you're in agreement with continuing the schedule that you've had, you have the third Thursday at 4:30, third Tuesday at 4:30, and we'd ask you to adopt the schedule with that correction in the February date. The other item that I would just note a couple of other items. We do have the usual pattern of informational meetings on there, following the same pattern we did this year. And then you'll also see the April 3rd joint meeting. And this is the meeting that the Board of Trustees invites all of our boards and commission members to attend together. It's a joint meeting with the Board of Trustees, Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, all the bodies together. It's a great opportunity both to communicate back to the Board of Trustees your priorities, but also to hear what else is going on in the township among various entities that we have. So usually we hold that. We either hold it at Jameson Hall or at the Commission on Aging. Which one do we have to set?
We don't have it set yet.
So that obviously we'll let you know as that comes up. But if you would keep that April 3rd date open. It's always a fun, interesting meeting to attend.
Was there a way that we could take like the July 23rd informational meeting and piggyback it with one of our regular meetings, so either July 16th or September 17th? Like we do the August 20th, that we have it right before preceding a regular meeting. I think it would help in attendance and time of the members and the staff.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. The reason we do the one separately is really to try to be absolutely consistent with the state act. The state act says that we should be holding completely separate. Both meetings should be completely separate. It certainly says we can't do any regular business. It does not explicitly say thou shalt not have it on the same day as your regular meeting. But it is definitely discouraged, and so usually the taxing jurisdictions that come, as you know, usually Nicole Frost is here in the county. They come to the first one, and so we essentially at that point really we're done. They are our primary audience for those meetings, and so that's why that second one is we just hold the beginning of a regular meeting because it's almost going through the motions at that point because we've already met with jurisdictions.
Okay.
So that's why we do it that way. I will say if as the state act, it does allow us to have it on the same day. It's strongly discouraged, I guess is the best way to put it. But if you would like to have it on, for example, on July the 16th, If you could make a motion to that effect, and we would work with that.
Well, I'm not one to rock the boat, so I'd resolve to approve the schedule of the regular and informational meetings of Economic Development Authority for the 2024 calendar year to take place at 4:30 p.m. on the third Tuesday of each month, except as otherwise noted in the schedule. And also, we have a correction for February 20th, 2024, in accordance with requirements of the Open Meetings Act.
Support.
Got a motion by Sweet, support by Fig for this request for board action. Hearing no more questions, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. And the motion is approved. Now let's go on to agenda item 9B. Request for board action for the fiscal year 2023 budget amendment number 5.
All right, budget amendment number 5. It should be noted that we're, after you decide to approve this budget amendment, it would go to the Board of Trustees for their final approval on this. And we have a budget amendment for the East DDA. We checked the West DDA fund, and we didn't feel that there was a budget amendment needed there. So I'll just begin with the East DDA and go over our recommendations for that. In general, we're asking for a decrease on a lot of budget lines, and that's because it's either the items weren't needed this year because of the construction on Pickard, or some projects are being moved to the 2024 budget. So let's get started here. So we're decreasing the budget 2,000 for the implementation consultations for the East DDA development plan, and that's been moved to fiscal year 2024 budget. We're decreasing the budget 5,000 for maintenance to benches and trash receptacles because of the road construction on Pickard Road. And so, nothing was needed this year in 2023 for that particular item. And then we're decreasing the budget 16,500 for lawn care. And that amount is reduced because of the road construction on Pickard also. And then also decreasing the budget $8,000 for irrigation and lighting repairs due to the road construction. Decreasing the budget $9,000 for flowers and landscape maintenance because of the road construction. And we had $4,000 in the budget for legal fees, and I'm happy to say that they were not needed. And then we're decreasing the budget $4,000 for electrical expenditures while some of the light poles are down on Pickard Road. And we're also decreasing the budget $8,000 because the water usage was lower for the irrigation system on Pickard. And that was due to the road construction as well. We're reducing the budget $100,000. There was a plan to do some engineering for a water system project for South Somerton Road, and that didn't get started in 2023. And we're reducing the budget $403,000 for Packard Road and Corporate Drive paving and drainage projects. We're waiting for Isabella County Road Commission acceptance for those. And we're reducing the budget $310,000 for sidewalk and pathway projects on Bud Street, and South Isabella Road. Those are being moved to the 2024 budget. We're reducing the budget 74,500 for the improvements to property, or to the property at Jonathan Lane. And the reason for that one is because the general fund paid for the cleanup and the sidewalks on that project. We're reducing the budget 24,500 for the improvements to Honey Beer Lane. Those were not needed in 2023. They're now budgeted in 2024. So this budget amendment is a total net expenditures from all adjustments is a decrease of $1,029,250,000 in the East DDA. And that would increase your projected year-end fund balance by that same amount. Are there any questions on those budget amendments?
Pretty thorough.
I'll make a resolution, or propose a resolution for authorization is hereby given to amend the fiscal year 2023 budget for the East DDA in the net amount of $1,029,250 in the 248 East DDA fund.
We got a motion by Fig,
Support.
support by Sweet, to approve this request for board action. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. And the action is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
So continuing on with new business, item 9C, have another request for board action for 2024 budget approval for the east and west. What do we got there?
Okay, I'll start with the East DDA and do a little overview of the East DDA budget for 2024. The total appropriations that we have in this budget is $2,115,470. We have a funding transfer of $81,000 in the budget to the fire fund to support the fire service delivery contract with Mount Pleasant. We have all the normal programs budgeted, such as lawn mowing, irrigation, landscape maintenance, holiday lighting, banners, and snow plowing on Pickard Road. And we have the $40,000 in the budget so we can continue to offer grant programs to assist local businesses in the East DDA. We have the airport courtesy vehicle in the budget at $1,000 this year. We have $10,000 in the budget to create a new set of seasonal gateway banners for the US 127 interchange. We also have $450,000 in the budget for the underground irrigation system after the road construction is completed. This is just a preliminary cost estimate. And we have $25,000 in the budget for tree trimming and removal, replacement of dead trees as necessary along the Pickard Road corridor. Now, we have $20,000 in the budget that's been carried over for the installation of a new gateway entrance sign out on Pickard, on the corner of Pickard and Somerton Road. We have 40,000 carried over also from 2023 for the demolition and replacement of the Enterprise Industrial Park sign at 5800 East Pickard Road. And that's an upgrade to the sign with an electronic message board. We also have funding of $550,000 for potential land assembly to help facilitate expanded industrial research, warehouse distribution center development opportunities. We have a funding of $100,000 also carried over from 2023 for that engineering work for the water system looping on South Somerton Road. And then we have $520,000 budgeted for sidewalk projects, in the East DDA. We have $90,000 budgeted for installation of lighting along a sidewalk along Jonathan Lane, to upgrade that area that's been a project for a little while now. And so the net revenue and expense for fiscal year 2024 is a reduction of fund balance of $1,411,920, meaning that we're proposing to spend more than we bring in next year in 2024. So your projected year-end fund balance is approximately $487,000 for the East DDA. Are there any questions on the proposed East DDA budget for 2024?
Funding of $550,000 for potential land assembly. Does land assembly mean the purchase? What does it mean by land assembly?
Land acquisition, like you said.
Acquisition, that's what I was, okay.
I'm sure there will be a fair amount of discussion on that item when we come for action for our request.
I would expect that there will be a great deal of discussion, and I would expect that we'll actually get to experience a few closed sessions to talk about specific projects, Brad.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
with that, this is primarily coming up, as you know from the discussion we had in the last item, we did put money in the budget to improve the roads around the industrial areas in the East DDA, primarily around Packard Street, Airport Drive. We could not get the attention of the road commission. They had zero interest in working with us on it. Just we could not get past first base despite numerous efforts to try to engage them in that. There have been changes over the last even 5 years in terms of how economic development works, in that the state in particular, in terms of investing state resources in economic development projects, like you've heard the mega projects like the battery plant down in Marshall. Well, they also have funding for smaller projects potentially, especially for site preparation to help make a site be ready for industrial development. Because we do not have anywhere near the amount of industrial land ready for development that Michigan needs to be competitive. There is funding available from the state, but they want to work with municipal-owned sites. In Michigan, this has not been a pattern, but in other states it has for many years. Missouri is a good one for that, but there are other states that have long had the municipality being the primary starting point for development in terms of preparing sites. So Michigan funding is headed that direction. This is an opportunity that we have. Of course, our development plan allows us to look at this as an option. We're not looking at replacing the development community, but we're looking at creating opportunities, potentially through land assembly, in some cases through infrastructure improvements. But in order to be able to qualify for some of that state money that could help add to what we might put into a project. The municipality has to own the land.
I suspect I suspect I know which property is targeted here, but there's definitely kind of a target, you're putting this in the budget for next year, you think?
Well, there are certainly opportunities. Yeah, I think we talked last month that the township was awarded a state grant. It's called the Rural Readiness Grant from the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. That's it's basically a planning grant. It's funding to allow us to look at the US 127 corridor, which includes, of course, parts of our East DDA district. From the perspective of identifying priority sites to look at for industrial development, and specifically identifying what needs to be done in order to allow those sites to be used that way, in terms of either extending utilities, improving roads, or other infrastructure. So that grant, which is $45,000 grant, will be part of this. We'll be using that, what we learned from that, as part of this element potential as well. So this is funding that could support you might call step 2, that could come out of that evaluation process.
I like funding for industrial site potential. I mean, I don't want to have a budget that we start buying more old houses, though.
Right.
Okay, all clear?
Any more comments on the east side? Let me continue around the west.
Okay. For the West DDA, we have a total appropriation budget of $369,800. And some of the detail of that is $40,000 for the grant programs to assist local businesses with signage beautification and access improvements. And we also have $1,000 budgeted for the Mount Pleasant Airport's courtesy vehicle, a contribution to that from the West DDA. We have $10,000 budgeted to create a new set of seasonal gateway banners for the US 127 interchange. We have $50,000 budgeted for the development of a plan for street lighting and additional streetscape improvements along Remus Road M20 in the west. We have funding of $175,000 for the extension of the public sidewalk along Remus Road, East Remus Road M20, north along Bradley Street to connect to the middle school at 440 South Bradley Street. And so this budget for the 2024 fiscal year is a net revenue and expenditure of $116,850, which leaves you with a projected year-end fund balance at the end of 2024 of $1,249,348. Are there any questions on the West DDA budget proposal?
I don't have anything on what you presented. Pretty well recap what we talked about last month, so. However, I would like to propose an amendment, an addition. I think Rodney mentioned that the owner on the corner of M20 and Lincoln is obligated to put a sidewalk down through there. And as a contractor, one of the things that just bothers me is when we put an improvement in, whether it be a water main or a new roadway, and then a year later we come in and start tearing it out because we didn't see that we needed a new water main or, so not that I need to contribute to that person's well-being, but to me, I would like to propose that we set aside $50,000 to do some more engineering work, possibly some land work, to see what the best way to finish to make that an all-weather road from M20 down Lincoln Road to the bridge. And I have no I think the road commission has thrown in the towel trying to do the 5-lane or what we ended up with out on Pickard. As Rodney said, just because they are not in the business of getting, you know, the easements, the grading easements, the permanent easements and that. And when you try to go out that wide and allow for a sidewalk, you can't do that in the 66-foot traditional county. So, what I would propose is for engineering, and then maybe also to assist them in getting some grading easements. I mean, one spot is right there, that between the Arboretum and for example, between the Arboretum and the dozers on the corner, the ground dips down. And in order to build a section in there, we're probably gonna have to fill on the west side of the road. Well, to me, let's make an effort. We got to come up with a design, whether so it may be something just what they're gonna do, a paved shoulder like they did on Broomfield. I don't have any preconceived notion, but I do feel strongly that we do need to have that an all-weather road, and part of it is we talk about community well-being, sending trucks during frost laws and forcing them to drive all the way down High Street through a residential measure, turn on Mission, go down and stop and go traffic and add the congestion on Mission to be able to get down south to 27, I think is not good for the community. And that's why the ring road has been talked about for a long time in various forms. I think it's also important to note that the reason that the bridge over the Chippewa River that was done here in the past 10 years, why that is to accommodate the full 5 lanes. And talking to the engineer who had to make that presentation, our area that shares the critical bridge funds encompasses Genesee County. And the representative from the road commission for Genesee County said, I got way more bridges that have more traffic than what you're talking about for this one, and we're going from 3 lanes down to 2 because we can't get the funding for it. So I'm not going to use the word fraud as a little too strongly, but to not make a commitment to finish that, I think is important. And I think it's the committee, or I think it's important for the community, because although I'm not sure what the township master plan is, routing traffic around town is a no-brainer to me. And I'm sure if I talked to some people at the city of Mount Pleasant, they would concur with that. They wouldn't I wouldn't expect them to chip anything in on it, but I think there's some talking to Pat Gaffney, he's not the board, he doesn't sign the checks, but he certainly has a feel. They would like to see an all-weather road going around the city to help take some of that traffic off that. And I think it'd be one thing if we're talking Pickard, where you gotta go that whole, or Lincoln, to come up M20 to get down to the corner. But when we've just got that half mile, and the other thing I would advocate as part of that project is to incorporate the sidewalks, whatever design we come up with, whether it's, again, paved shoulders, or we put a shorter curb section in, but the sidewalks down to at least the bridge, and then that's finished. Then we've got you got the Arboretum Apartments, you've got communities back around Lake Leroy and the river, you got Seaman Drive. There's some neighborhoods that we could connect to this sidewalk backbone that we're putting out. And so for all those reasons, I would like to at least study the issue, kind of come up with a plan with whoever's going to have input. I mean, there's things like, there's a power pole right there on the corner that is got to be moved. Those things take time. And so I'm not going to see construction, but I would like to propose that we add some money in there for some engineering and or pursuit of getting some easements to facilitate whatever we can do so we can get that converted to a Class A road as soon as we can.
So like an engineering master plan kind of an effort, just to
Yeah,
identify.
Just like Rodney's, what he's proposed for the corridor is, let's look at that stretch, that half-mile stretch, and okay, what makes sense here for this? You know, the problem with trying to put sidewalks, as we all know, down a county road is you got county ditches. And there's, again, so if we can work some drainage in there, come up with a design that encompasses where we got places for the road water to go, and then we've got room to make a straight. The other thing, I've got a terrible case of OCD, and as much as I think I love the improvements we did out on 20, there's part of me that just drives me nuts when I pull up there to pull out on Rogers Road and look down there and see that sidewalk going like that. But that's my personal feeling. And so I think there's an opportunity. We're gonna get some money, some help there on the corner, to put some, a sidewalk in there. Let's make it and kind of make that, let's finish that section of Lincoln Road down to the bridge. And I think that'll be a good extension to the sidewalks that we've started. So, enough said.
No, I understand I think I'm on your wavelength, and I've actually thought about that, because over the years, there's been discussion on what are we gonna do from like the Township Hall down to 20, where we're talking, I've heard streetlights, I've heard sidewalks, I've heard,
Yep.
but in the back of my mind, I'm well aware of the conceptual civil engineering that needs to take place for storm drain, electrical, sidewalks, grades, topography, studies, easements, that we could knock down, get out of the way. So it's that much ready for actual
And I would-
plan.
And I would tell you that the road commission, I believe the road commission, if you presented it properly, would be receptive to that too, in studying it. But I think what it comes down to is we need to go out there, which easements what are our trouble areas? They drew up a set of plans for the bridge. They do have a set of plans. I don't think it's anything we're gonna build. But, and one of the things they did there at this corner that we're talking, this area we're talking about, is they were gonna cut the road down 3 foot to eliminate that dip. And the only reason they were doing that is so they didn't have to get a grading permit from, the adjacent property owner. So there are things, like I say, with engineering that I think we can do to minimize the need to try to get easements, which are always a problem. But the second part of it I'd like to, if we've got to employ someone that's their job, is to reach out to the owners, if it's got to be an appraisal done, but something that is their job rather than just adding that to Pat Gaffney's workload. And I know that Pat's got plenty on his plate without trying to spend time that you need to do to go out and talk to like a Don Burden. And you need to sit down and talk with Don. There's not a memo, there's not an email, there's not anything. You're gonna have to go down and spend an enormous amount of time. And we had to do that on projects we've worked in there. And I've fortunately been able to work with Don, but the property owners, you're gonna have to sit down and so that will be part of that fund. If there's somebody that we can employ, this is your job to go out and talk to these people and see, what's possible and who's receptive. My guess is that the owner on the corner, we could probably, I wouldn't say it'd be a slam dunk, but I'm sure there'd be some horse trading there. But again, when we're done, we've got a coherent plan of action for that rest of that remaining corridor. And more importantly, when we're done with that plan, we've got walkways all the way down to the river. I would say it would be necessary.
I can totally see it. We're always missing that, and what people don't understand is, especially when you're doing surface storm management,
Yep.
to try to pull this off, we gotta take storm, all these I wanna call them pre-design, location, quantities, all the engineering that goes into it to pull off what I hear so many board members ask for, so many community members,
Yep.
but we don't have some of those baseline critical logistics, I guess, to do the plan.
Right.
So, and you're
No,
saying we could
that's-
throw some money at it, maybe knock off some of these things,
Well, and.
partner
and
with the township or whoever
with the
in the
road
future.
commission, whatever. I mean,
Road commission.
We'd be a lot, at least we'd have something we could propose and get some funding for. And, or budget ourselves or whatever, but at what Pat said, again, he doesn't speak for the board, but, the road commission is interested in seeing a year-round, Class A road loop around the city. So that, to me, indicates they'd probably kick in some money too. Grants, are always a little iffy, but you never know. They were able to get money for down on the corner, but, I'd like the board to consider that, because I think that.
So I guess as far as you guys, what's your take on that?
I
Favorable?
agree. Yeah, no, I'm very favorable to Jim's addition. Like I said in the last meeting, my issues are the irrigation system. Just think that money could be used more efficiently. And I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be more than $450,000, and 450 is already a tough one to swallow. I just need more information on the potential land assembly. I don't like that feel, because that sounds like maybe a little overreach, where we have, well, we need this land, so we're gonna, the eminent domain, that type, those images. So I just need more information. Like, maybe we need to have one of those closed door meetings where we can talk about it, so we don't make all these land values skyrocket, which they probably already have, because this is written, but there's $1 million right there that I just think with the irrigation system, and I know everybody has strong opinions about it, but I'll just take my lawn for example. I didn't water it since, and I keep track of this stuff because I'm a nerd on that, but I didn't water it from when the rain started in June until I think late September, and then I ran 3 cycles. You could do the same type of thing. Obviously, basically what I'm saying is you can have green grass, you can have a weed-free lawn, you can have all of these things. You don't need to hammer it with water every single day. And that's what happens when an entity like this puts an irrigation system, because there's nobody responsible for it, for the day-to-day, turning it on, turning it off. A rain gauge will only work, probably for the first month or two, and then it only works on rain days. Not, it doesn't take into account that you got 3 inches of rain. You don't have a water deficit for 3 weeks. And you can see in the savings. I mean, just in this quarter, we saved $8,000 in water. So what did we save in the second quarter? Probably another, I just, $1,000 for blowout for half the system. So you double it. I just have issues with that, and I think that money can be spent more wisely. We could, if we needed, we could hire a water truck to go down like Midland does with the flowers and water that. I mean, we're talking 4 foot or 10 foot of green grass, or we could take that 450, which I'd be much more inclined to, and give grants to the business owners, and now they're responsible for it. I just don't know if we should be in the irrigation business at $500,000. So those 2 issues I have issues with, but like the 550, I just need more information. I don't see a lot of industrial land in the township, or very minimal. So unless we had cooperation from the planning commission, from the board of trustees, to really dive into how are we going to be more pro-business, more pro-industry, then that's a feasible alternative. But those are my issues with the items presented.
Okay.
So.
No, appreciate it. I mean, kind of getting, and keep in mind, this is all kind of
Just the budget.
pre-concept
I
budget.
understand.
I mean, we
but
can
I've
like
been-
amend
but-
it and,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
I
but,
understand, but I've been at the meetings too where, oh, it was approved.
but
So,
by,
No,
so
I-
you know, and that's, I just want to speak up.
I-
I just want to speak
No,
up.
right on.
You know.
I share, and I think everybody around the table shares, that we're not quite, that we aren't open, and that's, to me, you know, I'm gonna vote for that item, just because let's hear what the specifics are. Am I real comfortable with it, with what I think we're doing? Not really, but, you know, I'm certainly willing to see if that makes sense, you know, if you can make a good coherent, argument for doing this, then great. But I don't wanna be the city of Ypsilanti, own a bunch of property that you just can't do anything with. And every location is unique, but, you know, and the irrigation, to me, the flip side of that, even if you are for the irrigation, to me, I dearly wanna see the local contractor get that, and how you award that size of a contract without let me rephrase that. It isn't that I want the local contractor to get it. What I want to avoid is somebody from out of town give us a cheap price that we're gonna pay the local contractor to maintain for the next 30 years. That's what I want to avoid. So, but as far as we're talking budget and putting money in it, I'm with you. You tend to, well, it's in the budget, so it's okay. And yeah, I think on these two items, there'll be some vigorous
Okay.
discussion when the time comes, and even before it comes to the board. Like I said, we're going to have a lot of meetings before there's a motion in front of us. And as Rodney said, I would assume some of them are going to be in closed session because you know, the sensitivity of you know, what we're going to propose. So I'm certainly receptive to doing it, and comfortable with leaving it in the budget for now.
Okay.
And the other thing is, I don't know, have another $1 million worth of good ideas.
I can come up with
Is
some.
the other reality.
Yeah.
So,
Following up on Jim's comments about the plan, the engineering potentially that we could do on Lincoln Road between Remus and the bridge, I think is very much forward-looking. And I don't think, from what I remember, what I know about this EDA, the west and the east DDAs, is that forward-looking has usually proved beneficial. And a lot of the work that we did in regards to re-establishing the DDAs was forward-looking, and a lot of that had language that indicated we want to do what we can to improve the community, benefit the businesses and all of the economies that is going on. And I think we all know, no matter how long you've been here, the longer you've been here, the more you know that that road, that corridor, is just becoming a thoroughfare. And especially when you improve the road on Broomfield to the extent that it's been improved, and what it's connected is really starts to become a minor portion of that entire stretch. So I really think that forward-looking and taking the lead on things has never been something that the DDAs have been afraid of doing. So I think it's a great way to, if not dip our toe in the water, dive in all the way, you know, as far as trying to get something accomplished in that particular area. So I think that doing that would be well advised.
so how would we add, like you guessed 50 grand to this? Is this something, and what's our time frame on this? I'm all about momentum and meeting the Michigan DDA statutory rules of budget deadlines. So,
yeah,
I mean, if we
no,
approve
we'll
this,
pass the budget
pass this,
today.
and
That's not a
then we
question.
can still work on it?
Well, there's a couple of options you have with regards to that project. You could make it part of your resolution to approve the budget for the East and West EDA funds with the addition of, to the West EDA fund, this project for this amount. I will say that what you've described is in your implementation strategies. I've certainly heard you on that.
Yep.
There's a lot we can do to work with the road commission to see where that can go.
Yeah.
The road commission tends to like to keep this stuff in-house in terms of their engineering.
They do,
and
because
so-
they've got it, and if it makes sense, and again, I have conflict of interest if we don't bid it or whatever, I'll work with you on that. But if you would like to have me as the EDA's board representative to work with the road commission on some of these things, it's not rocket science, and we certainly need to get the shareholders, the board of trustees they've got an interest in extending the pathways. We've got funds. It'd be nice to get that corridor done, so if I can be of any help, I've worked with those guys for a long, long time. And if I can be help, I will offer my services, but you are right, they tend to do that in-house, but again, they hired, Pete Lorenz to draw up the plan that I saw, that I had.
So, one thing with Mr. McGurk and his sidewalk that he's required to construct, he does not have to construct that sidewalk within the existing road right of way. In fact, he probably shouldn't.
Yeah,
He absolutely can put it further back. He
Yep.
can design it to where it ought to be for a wider road, and simply provide an easement. That's all he
Yep.
needs to do, to install that sidewalk in a way that it would not be harmed by any future road project. He's very familiar with all of that, and I'm sure he can design it, and he even has a significant chunk of fill that if he wants to raise that sidewalk up in that low area, he can do that too.
Yep.
So he's fully capable of taking care of that part of the project.
Not gonna disagree with that.
I guess my suggestion would be is perhaps to consider, rather than amending this budget, you can always pass a separate motion to simply note the preference of the EDA board to make this a priority for 2024. If this item, working on this, let's call it the pre-planning work, you might say,
Yep.
for this section of Lincoln Road, that could be simply a separate motion that you make to direct the staff to pursue that, and we certainly would. 2024, if an opportunity comes up and there's some ability to provide some funding, we can always come back with an amendment to the budget, just as we've done with other projects that come up in the middle of the year. So, but that's up to you. You also can, if you choose, as I said, you just make it part of your motion. You just want to be specific as to the West EDA fund and what it's for and
Yep.
the amount.
I think I just assume we do the resolution as he have it presented and just add that sentence.
I agree.
It's like,
I think, yeah, that indicates a preference on our part as far as the boards to, make it a priority and.
And like I said, if you're doing that, if you're not making it part of the budget, I would do that as a separate motion. And you can do it as part of this action.
Yeah, I think that's what you said,
Yeah.
more than just add it to the budget motion.
But do it as a separate motion to say the preference of the EDA board to
okay.
Well, I guess
I
my
think-
thought is let's put it in the budget, because that's where I want to see it. To do that, if we can just add it to the budget resolution. I think that's what you.
Yeah, so I'm just to approve the fiscal year budget,
Yep.
recommended for final adoption, adding,
Let me see here.
what I would say
Potential of
is
50,000 is what you initially said.
this.
or are you just saying do that alone and then make a whole nother motion? Is that what you
Well-
would rather see us do?
It entirely depends. If you would like to amend the 24 budget to include funds for this project, then you want to make it part of this resolution on the budget. If you want to to simply state that that you want this to be a priority for staff to pursue this with the road commission, but we're not funding it right now. That then would be a separate motion, to simply state the.
I think we need both.
Well, that's, I think
Well,
it needs to be in the budget.
If you put it in
Yeah.
the budget, you don't need the separate motion.
Okay. Gotcha.
But
Well-
if you're, like I said, if you want to simply state the preference of the
Yeah,
ED
but I just
board
want to make sure you guys are on your toes. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but frankly,
No, no, no.
Right now, we have no idea really what the road commission would need or want related to our support on that.
Yes.
And so we're kind of throwing a number out of the air for that.
Yeah, and it's just a number, and I'm just using the 50,000 from, the M20 corridor.
Past
But
experience.
let's talk about it. I've talked about it kind of as a separate motion. Let's talk about it as if you're actually amending this budget. What I would suggest, if you're going to amend the budget, you would start off, as this resolution says, to approve the fiscal
Yep.
year 24 budget for the East and West EDA Fund. And then right there, at the end of West EDA Fund, comma, with the addition to the West EDA Fund of $50,000 for,
Engineering and planning for a half-mile stretch from Remus south to the bridge.
there you go. And I would say for sidewalks, drainage, and road improvements.
Yeah, I was gonna, I've got some
Yeah.
language here,
And then you
Oh.
pick the motion back up from there.
yeah, okay. Okay, give me a second here to write this thing down. so. Well,
I just want to.
I'm gonna make it for everything. So I'm gonna include,
Because I almost want to keep the word planning in there with
yes,
your,
for a plan, yep. First one would be an all-season road. Second would be storm drainage, which, with the big drain we put it in years ago, it's got basins that are buried right now that you just have to go out to the road and you can, so there are spots that it was the original pipe that was put down there has structures that they just paved over because there was no reason to do anything there. So there are a lot of the drainage infrastructure is already in there, but we need to pull those plans out and do that. So we want to take care of storm drainage. Sidewalks or pathways, what's?
I think both sidewalks or pathways, because it may be
What's
appropriate
generic
for.
word?
there- we-
pedestrian and vehicular improvements.
Yeah,
The committees, yeah,
pedestrian, no, that, there you go, pedestrian
motorless, whatever.
pathways. And what do you, what's the group think about street lighting? If you're gonna do it, you might.
Yeah, it needs
Might
street
as well
lighting
have the
right now.
plan.
I mean, like you say, it is, to do it, just like out M20, you look at that, and for them to plop that street lighting in there like they did now when the road's all tore up, that looks easy. When you start getting sidewalk and
Yeah.
traffic control and everything else, not so much, so.
Right.
Yeah, lighting's all about safety and pedestrian and,
Yep.
That's when conduit can be a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah, yep. All right, okay. You ready?
yep, let's hear it.
All right, where's my? I gotta find- Yeah,
Resolution.
Okay.
Jump in right there.
Yep.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the fiscal 2024 budget for the East DDA Fund and the West DDA Fund,
Comma.
comma, with the addition to the West DDA, an additional line item of $50,000 for development of a plan for an all-season road, comma, storm drainage, comma, pedestrian pathways, and street lighting for the stretch from Remus Road to the Chippewa River Bridge. That work?
You want to finish up
That's-
the rest of it?
Oh, and then I got, no, okay. And to forward the approved 2024 budgets to the Township Board of Trustees with a recommendation for final adoption. Sorry.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Zalad, supported by Mr. Fig. Any more questions on that motion? Hearing no questions, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. And the motion's approved. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Hey, let me see my sheet.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's a little bit what it's like to be in Parliament. That was good.
And moving on to, where are we at here? Item 10, pending business. Anything there? Number 11, director comments.
Thank you. Just a couple of items. Yeah, I expect you will be seeing some bids for sidewalk snow plowing at your next meeting. We've got word from our current contractor that their equipment is simply at the end of its life, and they do not want to make the investment in new. They have been, equipment is from 1979, and they simply can't get parts anymore. And so they've decided to bow out of the service that they've provided so well for over the years. Appreciate Doug Smalling's repair for that.
Yep.
But they've let us know that they're not going to extend their contract, which goes at this point to the end of the year. So just got word of that, and so we're going to be putting out requests for bids. I expect that about tomorrow, hopefully. And we'll be looking to have those heavy bids in for our November meeting for you to take a look at.
Going to include the West DDA too, then?
Yep, we'll be bidding on both parts. Actually, it really includes three elements, three funding sources.
Yep.
The East DDA, the West DDA, and then because our sidewalks now go around to McDonald Park, which is outside of our West DDA, there'll be some general fund money. And there's actually money budgeted, it's included in what you approved for all those things. So that, like I said, I expect to see that at your November meeting. The other item that we are working on, we're working on a relationship with the folks at USIC. This is the company that, one of the companies that does the marking for MISTIG, the 811 service. They do a lot of work in this area, and we're currently working with them to get them on board to mark our street lighting system. I had a second meeting with them today about that. I'm expecting to see a contract from them. I've already seen a price list, which is all very reasonable for what's needed. So we're just working out the details for that, and I expect to have another meeting in a couple days with them. So that one you will not see. That one's an administrative approval per the board's policy that is an amount below, that does not require board action.
Is that a dollar limit, or?
Yes, there's a dollar limit for that, yeah.
And what is the dollar limit, if I can ask?
And you were going to ask it. I should have. I can't recall the number.
Okay.
But
Somewhere.
based on the expected service, we're nowhere near it.
Okay, no, good, that will be a very good investment,
Yes.
whatever we're paying them.
And you've seen, as was mentioned, that our street lighting is going in on the north side. The foundations are in. The lights are going to go up in the next few weeks, and the road itself is still on schedule to be done before November 15th. It's beginning to look like it might be actually a few days before November 15th. So it'd be nice to see that completed.
Yes.
The 11th or 12th.
You're waiting on the damn pavers.
We're out there today
Yeah,
doing approaches.
I shouldn't say that.
So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So with that USIC membership or whatever we're doing, that reminded me, are we start implementing the digitized as-built record drawings yet?
Yeah, thank you for that. We are working with the state of Michigan and with their preferred contractor. They recommended, they have a relationship with a contractor to do this. It meets all the state requirements for record retention and such. We have done a test run. They took a couple of boxes of building department materials and did a test run. Right now, we're in the process of working with our BSNA service, which is our computer application for all these records, building department and all those elements, property records and such, to be able to get that information uploaded, make sure it can, as much as possible, it can be automatically uploaded into our BSNA servers. We're in the middle of that right now. They're going back and forth on some of those things. As soon as that is pinned down, and we know we have the format right, we have the file type names right, all that kind of thing, to be able to automate that as much as possible, then they will be coming out and hauling a whole bunch of stuff out of the basement, and that does include the EDA's records that per
All right.
budget amendment.
Good.
I assume then this will be an ongoing service to take care of all the, as they're generated? And I thought Tom's question was, is when we get that drawing from Rank, is that gonna go into this file so we can find it somewhere down the road?
So right now, the digital file is on our server. We have for that, we have the paper file for the previous ones. We also have, I think, a digital file for the previous ones on our server. With anything new that comes in, we ask for digital records of it. So right, we're not adding to that paper, that pile of paper for new items.
So,
yeah.
so okay, so basically it'll be up to us. They'll have the electronic file cabinet. Now it's just us to add to that. We're not gonna contract with them to, oh, here, put it in the system for us.
No, right. The intent is to they're taking care of the historical.
All
historical
the
records.
basement stuff is,
Yeah.
get that in there, okay. Fair enough, thank you.
Okay. More questions for the good of the order? Hearing nothing, let's call this meeting adjourned at 5:44. And we'll see everybody Tuesday, November 21st, next meeting. Thank you.
Good luck hunting.
Thanks, Lori.